Welcome back, dear students. Today we are going to start with a new chapter, Introduction to Java. Okay, and this is the part 1 of Introduction to Java. So let's begin with it. Students, Java is a third generation object oriented programming language. Why third generation? You should recall, students, that in previous classes you studied that the first generation language was also known as machine language. Yes, which used only binary codes. Okay, 0 and 1. The second generation language was the assembly language, which used mnemonics instead of binary codes. And then came the third generation languages, okay, which were very close to the English language. Such languages were known as high level languages. Yes, students. So Java is one of the examples of third generation object oriented programming language. Okay, in the previous lesson you had already studied what is the meaning of being object oriented. Okay, so let's move on. Now, Java was developed by this person, James Gosling, at Sun Microsystems. Okay, then Java can be used to create user friendly computer applications that can run on a standalone machine. User friendly, such applications which are very easy for the normal users to use, okay, and that can run on standalone machine. Standalone over here means a machine or a system which can work on its own. It does not require any other hardware. For example, a fax machine is a standalone machine. Okay, so for creating softwares for fax machine, Java can be used. There are many other examples of standalone machines. We'll see that later. Now, Java can also be used to build application modules which can be easily distributed through the internet. Or we can say that Java can be used to create web based applications. Okay? Now, such modules help the user to interact with the web pages easily. Okay, now what is a module? Let's see what a module is. See, students, in large software systems, okay, a module is a component of a software or a software component or part of a program that contains one or more functions to carry out specific tasks. So we can, in easier languages, we can say that a module is a part of a program or a software. Okay, now a single software can contain number of modules, and these modules, different modules inside a software, work and interact with each other to complete the desired task and give us the required output. Okay, students. Next, now Java applications are platform independent. What does this means? Platform independent. Okay, you have already studied what is the meaning of platform independent in the previous classes. Let's revise it. Platform independence means that Java applications can run on any platform. What does a platform means? Okay, a platform refers to a specific combination of hardware and system software or operating system. For example, for example, see, this is a Windows computer. Okay, this is a computer which has a Windows based operating system. Okay, and it contains, suppose it contains Intel's Core i7 processor, which is the hardware, and this, it contains the Windows 7 operating system. So this is a combination of Intel processor and Windows operating system. On the other hand, there is another computer. Okay, it does not contain the Windows operating system. Instead, it contains the Macintosh operating system. Okay, so both the computers have different operating systems in it. That means both run on different platforms. This computer runs on a different platform, this computer runs on a different platform. Okay, now what happens to the software applications is that an application running on a computer with Intel i7 processor and Windows operating system may not run on a computer with the Macintosh operating system. It will not work on this one. A software which runs on this platform may not work on this platform. Okay, such softwares are said to be platform dependent, but Java applications are not platform dependent, they are platform independent. Okay, a computer program's capability to run on multiple platforms is referred to as platform independence. Okay, and Java is a platform independent language. Okay, because it creates softwares which are platform independent. Okay, now let's talk about evolution of Java. Okay, how did Java evolve? Now, Java started as a project which was initially called as Oak by James Gosling. You know the creator of Java, James Gosling. In June 1991 at Sun Microsystems. Okay. Initially, Java was called Oak. Okay. Now, what happened? The project was named Oak after the oak tree that stood outside his office. Whose office? James Gosling's office. Okay. Then, what happened? Due to a trademark dispute with the Oak technology, Oak was renamed as Java. Okay, there was a company which was called as Oak Technologies. Due to the trademark dispute, Oak was renamed as Java. Then Java was formally released in the year 1995. It took almost 4 years to formally release Java. So Java was released formally in the year 1995. Now, Java was initially designed for consumer electronic devices such as TVs, washing machines, toasters, and other similar electronic devices. So, for designing softwares for a washing machine, okay, for TV, for a toaster, which programming language was used initially? Java was used, and all these and this washing machine, this toaster, all these are examples of again stand-alone machines. They do not require any other machine to give instructions to them. They themselves contain the softwares and hardware which give them the instruction. Okay. Now, since these devices used since these devices which we talked about earlier, they use different platforms, there was a need for a platform independent language like Java. Okay, so over the years, new and enhanced version of Java has been released. Okay, look over here. In the year 1995, they released JDK beta version. In the year 96, they released JDK 1.0. In 97, in the year of 1997, JDK 1.1 was released, and so on. Okay, they kept on updating Java. Okay, then in July 2011, they released Java SE 11. In 2014, they released Java SE 8. In September 2017 they released Java SE 9. In 2018 they released Java SE 10. In September of 2018 they released Java SE 11, and in March 2019 they released Java SE 12. Okay, so over the years new and enhanced versions of Java has been released. Okay, now let's take a quick glimpse of the brief history of Java. So, in the year 1990, a team of Sun Microsystems, which was again headed by James Gosling, was formed to develop a special software that could be used for consumer electronic devices, okay, like TVs, washing machines, etc. Okay, then in the year 1991, a new language, Oak, was introduced by this team. Okay, in the year 1991, Oak language was introduced by the team which was headed by James Gosling. Okay. Now, in 1993, Oak transformed the text-based internet which was text-based, to a graphical rich environment. Which language transformed the text-based internet into the graphical rich environment? The Oak. Okay. Still, it is not renamed Java as of yet. Okay. Now, in the year 1995, due to the dispute with Oak Technologies, Oak was renamed as Java. Now, in 1996, Java language became famous for using the object-oriented approach. Then, in the year 1997, Java Development Kit JDK 1.1 was released by Sun Microsystems. In the year 2010, Oracle acquired Sun Microsystems. Pardon the spelling, it is acquired. Okay. So, in the year 2010, Oracle acquired entire Sun Microsystems. So, Java became a part of Oracle. Now, in the year 2015, Java celebrated 20 years of innovation. You know why? Because Java was formally released in the year 1995. So, in 2015, Java celebrated it 20 years of innovation. In the year 2018, Java SE 11 initial release and updates were released. Okay. Now let's talk about the types of Java programs. Okay. Now, students, there are two types of Java programs. We have already discussed them previously: the standalone applications and the internet-based applications, which are also called as internet applets or Java applets. Okay. So let's talk about them. Now, a stand-alone application refers to a Java program that can run independently on any computer. Okay. For example, Microsoft Word is an excellent example of a standalone standalone application. Now, Java standalone applications can either be console-based applications or with graphical user interface. See, this is a console-based application. Okay, again created through Java, and this looks like a graphical user interface. Okay, a console-based Java applications uses text-only interface. See, only text can be used in these types of interfaces. Now, Windows cmd.exe is an excellent example of this type of interface. Which type of interface? Console-based interface. Console-based Java application. Okay. So, but student, cmd.exe is not necessarily a program written in Java, but it is a representative example of a console-based applications. So, we can say that cmd.exe is a console based applications, but we cannot clearly say that it has been created using Java. But can we create console based applications using Java? Yes, we can. So let's move on. Now, next type of standalone application is the GUI based Java application. Okay, as the name suggests, a GUI based Java application uses graphical interface like command buttons, text fields, okay, and a mouse cursor. Okay, so see, this is an example of a GUI based application. Okay, where we have different buttons, we have the text fields. Okay, see the text fields, and we have a mouse cursor, and we can type inside these fields, and we can use this mouse cursor to move from one place to another, or one field to another. Okay, so these are the GUI based applications. Okay, now Windows calculator, you all have used Windows calculator in your computers. Okay, this application is an example of a GUI based application. Okay, now calc.exe or the Windows calculator, okay, is not necessarily a program which is written in Java, but it is a representative example of a GUI based applications. Okay, so what they're trying to say is that calculator software which we use in our computers is an example of a graphical user interface based application. It is we cannot say for sure that it is written in Java or any other program. But can you build a calculator software using Java? Yes, you can. Okay, let's move on. Now, the next type of Java programs is the Java applets or the internet applets. Okay, Java applets are the Java applications that run within a web browser. Okay, so these are different types of browsers, and Java applets or Java applications, okay, Java internet applets run within these types of browser. You already know what a browser is. Okay, now these type of applications are mainly used for internet programming. Okay, next, now an applet is capable of performing many tasks on a web page, such as displaying graphics, playing sounds, accepting user input, and saving them inside the database. Okay, all these things can be done by a Java applet or an applet. Okay, so applets, now applets are also used to create animation and interactive games. Okay, so students, for example, you might have seen sometimes when in your Google Chrome browser, when your internet does not work, you might have seen that you get a dinosaur game, right, where the dinosaur jumps, right? To create that type of games, in that type of interactive games, you can use Java. Okay, that game is an example of a Java applet or an internet applet. Okay, so applets are the web based programs. Now, applets can be included in a web page just as an image can be incorporated in an HTML file. Now, you have in the previous classes you have already studied how to embed an image inside a web page using HTML, right? In the same manner, you can also embed an applet on a HTML file. Okay, applets have a built-in graphical window which can be used by the user to interact within the web page. Now, unlike standalone applications, applets cannot run directly on user's machine, but they will run on a web browser. They will need a web browser to function. Okay. Now, Applets, Java applets can be transported over the internet from one computer, okay, which is known as server, to the user's computer, which is termed as the client via Java enabled browser or an applet viewer. Okay, so Java applications can be transferred from the server computers to the different client computers. Okay, now applets make it possible for a web page to perform complex tasks on the client machine rather than on the server machine. So what happens is that the applets are present on the server. Okay, when a client requests for completing certain tasks, what happens is that applets can be transferred to the client's computer, and then they will perform the desired task on the client's computer. Okay, now we have learned about you have learned about about programming languages in the previous chapters, na, like C++, okay, Python and Visual Basic. Okay, in this chapter, let us learn a bit more about the machine assembly and high level languages. Okay, again, we'll talk about the machine language, the assembly language, and the high level language. So, let's first talk about the machine language. Okay, so initially, computers were developed to carry out instructions that were written in machine language. Okay, now, what is machine language? Machine language instructions are expressed as binary numbers, which is also called as the machine code. You have already studied this in class 6. I hope you remember. A binary number is made up of only two digits, 0 and 1. Okay? So, each digit 0 or 1 is called as a bit. So, this is a bit, this is a bit. Okay? Thus, machine language instruction is just a sequence of zeros and ones. What is a machine language instructions? Look at this machine language instruction, which is just a bunch of sequence of zeros and ones. Okay? A machine language instruction may look like this. See this 1 0 0 1 1 1 1 1 or 0 0 0 1 1 1 1 1 0 0 1. All these are machine language instructions. Okay. Even though most computers perform the same kind of operations, just like input, processing, and output, they use different sets of binary codes for each instructions. Okay. Now, as a result, the machine code for one type of computer may not be the same for another type of computer. Okay. For example, a machine code for a Windows computer is different from a Apple computer. Okay. A computer can directly execute program only if the program is written in machine language. You already know this. Computers can only understand machine language. They cannot understand any other language directly. Okay. Now, then came the assembly language, because machine language code was very difficult for the human beings to understand. So then came a language which is called as the assembly language. Now, writing programs in a machine language was a tedious process and was prone to errors. Okay, and it was difficult for us human beings to understand. So also, these machine language programs were very difficult to read and modify. That's why, to overcome these issues, assembly language was developed, which allowed the programs to be written using symbolic operations, which are called as mnemonics. Okay. For example, instead of using 100 101, you can use the mnemonic add, ADD. Okay, so this is a mnemonic for the operation addition. Okay, an assembly language instruction may look like this: add ax comma bx, where ax and bx are two different variables. Okay, now, although these programs were relatively easier than machine language, okay, the assembly language programs were relatively easier than machine language, but they were not recognized by the computer directly. Therefore, an assembler was needed to translate the programs which were written in assembly language into machine language. Okay, so look at this code which is written in assembly language. The programmer used to write the program in the assembly language. Then it used a combination of assembler and linker to convert the assembly language into the machine language. And now when the machine it was the this program was converted into machine language, now the computer can understand. So a translator program like assembler was needed. Okay, what is assembler? Assembler is a program that translates assembly language program into machine code. Okay, let's talk about high level languages. Okay, so what are different high level languages? What are the high level languages? Now, the restrictions in the use of machine language and assembly language prompted people to develop a language with following features. Now see, although assembly language was easier than machine language, it was still difficult for the normal people to study them. That's why we required a more easier version of the languages, which we termed as the high level language. Now, what were the features of high level language? A high level language was simple and user friendly language. What is the meaning of user friendly? User friendly means such language which is very easy for the users to understand. Okay. Now, also, language that is machine independent. You know what is the meaning of machine independence? We have talked about this very clearly. Okay. So, owing to the above mentioned features, it became easy to learn the computer languages. When the high level languages came, it became very easy for everyone to learn the computer languages. And we are also, in this chapter, we are also talking about a high level language which is Java. Okay. Now, when it became easy for the people to learn high level languages, a large number of people started writing computer programs. Okay, high level language is very similar to the English language. It is not exactly English language, but it is very similar to the to how we write in English language. Okay. Now, basic C, C++, Java, all these are very popular examples of the high level languages. All these are the high level languages. Now, a set of instructions written in a high level language is called as the source code. So, if you write something in high level language, for example, in the previous class, we had written different types of Java programs, right? So what were we writing? We were writing the source code. Okay, so a set of instructions which is written in high level programming language is called as the source code. This is a very important definition. What is source code? A set of instructions written in high level programming language is called as source code. Okay, so whenever we write programs in Java using Java, we are writing a source code. Very important definition, you need to remember this. Now, a program written in higher level language is again not recognized by the computer directly. Why? Because the computer can only understand machine language code. Okay? Hence, a translator program is therefore needed to translate the high level language source code into the machine language equivalent. Okay, the high level language code is easy for the programmer to understand. It contains English like words, which is very easy for us to understand, and then the computer can't understand it, so we require a translator program to convert it into machine code, which is easy for the computer to understand. Okay, which is made up of binary numbers, ones and zeros. I hope you understood this. Okay, now there are two types of translator programs, interpreter and compiler. There are two types of translator programs, interpreter and compiler. Okay, and what is interpreter? An interpreter is a program that translates source code. I hope you know the definition of source code. What is source code? Source code is a program which is written in the high level language. So what does an interpreter do? An interpreter is a program that translates the source code instructions into machine code line by line. Okay, so source code okay goes to the interpreter, and interpreter translate this source code line by line into the machine language code. I hope you understood this. Now, the execution of interpreted program is slow. Why slow? Because it converts one line at a time, line by line. Yes. On the other hand, we have one more type of language translator, which is called as the compiler. Students, please note that it is compiler, not compiler. I have seen you people making lot of mistakes in the spelling. It is compiler, Compiler, compiler. Okay. So, what is a compiler? A compiler is a program that translates code written in high level language into machine code all at once before the program runs. Okay. So, the source code which is written in the high level language, okay, goes to the compiler translates this source code all at once into the machine language code. Okay, so this is compiler. During the execution, the object code is loaded into the computer's memory. Now first you need to understand what is object code. See, source code. What is source code? Source code is a high level language code. When this source code gets transformed into the machine language code, it is called as object code. Okay, so what is object code? The object code is the high level language code which is being transformed into machine language code by the compiler or interpreter. Okay, so during the execution, the object code is loaded into the computer's memory, and computer understands this object code only. Okay, so it is loaded into the computer's memory. Just give me a second. Sorry for the interruption, dear students. So this object code is loaded into the computer's memory during the execution. The computer then directly executes the object code. Then the execution of a compiled program is fast. Why it is fast? Because unlike interpreter, the compiler translates the all the lines at once, the entire program at once. That's why a compiler is fast. Okay. A machine language version of the source code is called as the object code. See, this is the definition that I was talking about. What is the object code? The machine language version of the source code. Source code is the program which is written in the high level language, and when we translate this high level language into machine language, then it is called as the object code. Okay. In the next lecture, students, we will talk about the traditional compilation process. Okay. Till then, take care of yourselves and be well.